That beam of light is carrying a live video signal right now across my room. No Wi-Fi, no cable, no fiber, just a laser and a photodiode. This started because I fell down a YouTube hole watching people point lasers at windows and turn the vibrations into audio, basically a laser microphone. I wanted to try it myself, and around at the same time I saw Hackaday running a challenge built around laser projects, and that was the push I needed to actually buy the parts. But I had already watched a lot of laser microphone builds by that point, and copying one felt pointless. Audio over light was a solved problem, so I picked something harder. Instead of sound, I wanted to send video. Before I get into how it went, I want to thank PCBWay for sponsoring this project. They sent me an oscilloscope, and for a build that lives or dies on whether a 5 MHz analog waveform looks clean or ringing with noise, having a real scope on the bench instead of guessing was the difference between debugging blindly and actually seeing what my circuit was doing. PCBWay also does PCB prototyping, 3D printing and CNC machining. If you've got a board you need to build, link in the description if you want to check them out. Now, regarding the project, my first plan was to send video the obvious way, digitally as raw ones and zeros. But the math kills the idea really fast. A single uncompressed 640 by 480 black and white frame is around 307,000 bytes and about 2.45 megabits. Even if my microcontroller and transistor could switch at a wildly optimistic 1 megabit per second, that's under half a frame per second. Push for a smooth 15 frames per second instead, and the resolution drops to roughly 32 by 32 pixel, which is a video that proves nothing. My second attempt was to encode still images as audio tones and send those over the laser. It's a generally solid method for noise environments since the audio frequencies are easy to filter out from interference, but one image took anywhere from 8 to 120 seconds to encode and send. At that pace, you're waiting minutes for a single frame, not watching video. The fix was to stop thinking digitally and go back to an old analog standard, composite video or CVBS, which is one continuous wave, about 5 MHz of bandwidth, carrying sync pulses, brightness and color all riding on the same signal. Instead of switching bits on and off, the laser brightness just follows the voltage of the wave directly. That one change is what got me to a real 50 to 60 FPS. Before touching a breadboard, I simulated the whole transmitter and receiver chain in LTSpice, just to check whether the idea would work at all before spending money on parts, even though they were pretty cheap. The core problem on the transmitter side is a composite video signal swings about 1 volt peak to peak, but the laser diode needs about 2.5 to 3 volts just to turn on, and 20 to 30 milliamps to run properly. Wire the video output straight to the laser and nothing happens. So there are 3 stages. First, there is a potentiometer that sets a constant bias voltage feeding through a resistor into the transistor's base. This keeps the laser glowing at a steady baseline. Then the actual video signal gets added on top through 2 parallel capacitors, a 47 microfarad electrolytic and a 100 nanofarad ceramic. One handles the low frequencies, like the sync pulses, and the other handles the fast fine detail. Then there is a transistor wired as an emitter follower that takes the mixed signal and supplies the current the laser actually needs without loading down whatever's feeding in the video. Now, my first instinct for the receiver was a small solar panel copying what I had seen in the audio over laser builds, which was a bad idea because solar cells have a huge surface area, which means huge internal capacitance, and that capacitance actually acts like a low-pass filter, which basically kills exactly the high frequency detail a video signal needs. That's why I switched to a photodiode instead, which is run in reverse bias. Basically the anode is tied to a negative 9V rail and the cathode into the amplifier virtual ground. That configuration is what gives the speed to actually track a 5 MHz signal. The photodiode's output current is tiny, nanoamps to microamps, so it needs a transimpedance amplifier to turn that into a usable voltage. This is also where I had my one real disaster. The amp needs a true dual supply, plus 9V and minus 9V of 2 separate 9V batteries. I wired it backwards, twice, and killed 2 op-amps that way. I had only bought 3 total, so wiring up the last one, I was sure I was about to kill my own despair and end the project right there. The operational amplifier doing the actual work is an LM318N. A normal audio amplifier like an LM358 doesn't have the bandwidth or slew rate to keep up, it will just mirror the picture. Two components in the feedback loop decide how it behaves. A resistor sets how much current gets converted into voltage, and a tiny capacitor next to it stops the whole thing ringing at high frequency. Without it, the output oscillates instead of giving you a clean signal. This is the waveform you're looking at right now, straight to the scope PCBWay sent me. You can actually see it. The low flat sections are the sync poses, and the busier wiggly parts are picture information riding on top. Worth saying is this scope actually showed up after the worst debugging I did on this project, so a fair chunk of the early troubleshooting happened blindly. Once I had it, seeing the real signal instead of guessing made everything after that a lot easier. Wanting the whole thing to be portable, I had bought a driver board for an old laptop monitor I had pulled apart, plus a cheap box to convert RCA into HDMI since the driver didn't take the composite input directly. On paper the schematic was fine, in practice I got a signal exactly once in something like 12 to 14 hours of testing. At one point I even suspected the breadboard itself. Long component legs on a breadboard cannot stray capacitance and resistance that matter at these frequencies, so I chased that theory for a while too. In the end, the actual fix was something almost insulting. I just skipped the cheap RCA to HDMI box entirely and wired the receiver straight into a TV, and it worked immediately. So the problem was the converter box the whole time, not my circuit. For a video source I used a Raspberry Pi with a camera module, reading the camera feed and outputting it as a composite video over its RCA pin. First attempt didn't work at all, and after some digging through the documentation, I found the ground and video pins on the composite header were swapped from what I expected. About an hour of debugging for what turned out to be a wire on the wrong pin. A few things I wanted to actually demonstrate on camera instead of just claiming. It's not about distance so much as exactly where the laser lands on the receiver. Dead center, and the sensor oversaturates to white, move it off to the side and the image dims, and then goes to black entirely. Find the exact right spot and you get a clean image with correct colors and brightness. Wave something through the beam fast and the picture just flickers. It doesn't drop out the way the digital signal would, since there's no packet to lose, just a brief dip in an analog wave. Hold something steady in the beam and the picture does stop completely. I'd also worried the ambient line would wreck the signal, so I pointed 3 flashlights at the receiver, the transmitter and the space in between. No visible difference in image quality at all. The longest distance I tested was 8 meters and it worked exactly the same as up close. The only generally annoying part of the whole setup is aiming. The laser has to be lined up precisely enough to actually hit the receiver. And that's the project. A link like this has some real advantages over cable radio. You'd need to physically be inside the beam path to intercept it, which makes it harder to tap than a radio or an exposed cable. And there's zero cable to run and eventually abandoned. Where it falls apart is long range on the ground. Atmosphere, temperature effects and the curvature of the earth all limit how far a line of sight beam can actually reach down here. Which is exactly why this kind of link makes far more sense in space, where there is no atmosphere to scatter it and no curved horizon blocking the view between 2 points. It's part of why satellites already talk to each other this way. A visible red laser like mine is also just impractical outside the demo. Full write-up, schematics and every value I mentioned in this video are in the GitHub repo link below. Thanks for watching.